So how many times do you think you check your cell phone every day? Notice I didn't say answer it, but rather, even just kind of pick it up. Look at it, just in case somebody tried to call you, or text you, or message you, or Facebook you. How many times do you think you do that? Almost unconscious to yourself. I was talking to one of our young alums over Christmas break, and he and I were talking about how often we do that. We were actually surprised to all of a sudden be aware that we are constantly checking it, even when we're not really expecting a call. Just constantly looking at this thing. Maybe it's to find out if somebody does want to contact us. Maybe. Hopefully. And we're not even really lonely when we're doing it. It's not like we're trying to be less lonely. We're usually with somebody. I also think it might be because we don't want to miss something we might find important, that somebody important maybe is trying to contact us, maybe that special other person that we just happen to be in love with might maybe call. Or some message might change our lives. Who knows? Maybe it's just missing out on fun. We're afraid we'll miss out on another option for fun. Who knows? It's not like we're expecting that call, though, or anything. Truth is, it does seem that this constant checking of calls, like if we're expecting one, is beginning to border on obsession with connecting, that might even be becoming a bit neurotic. Watch people as they exit from venues in which their cell phone could not be activated, just as quickly reaching for this thing as a habitual smoker who would reach for a cigarette because they haven't been able to have one for the last 30 minutes or an hour or two. Why do I feel so naked when I've forgotten to bring my cell phone with me? I left it at home, despite the fact that I lived 2/3 of my life without one of these. Today's readings are all about the call. They're all about the call, and I'm talking about the real call. Each of us has been waiting for, each of us has been longing for, that really is important. The first story in those readings this morning is a story of a young adult named Samuel, who himself finally picks up and finally listens to what God had been calling him to do all the time. And once he picked up on it, he remained in that call and in his response to that call the rest of his life. And it continued to guide all of Samuel's choices for the rest of his life. The disciples in the story from the gospel also got the call, and they answered. It came to them as an invitation to a whole new vocation for them, a whole new way of life, to live out the rest of their days. My friends, God is calling. God is calling you right now and in every right now of your life. That call sounds for you every single day. And this is one call. Of all those calls that might come in, this is one call we don't pick up on. This is one call, consciously or unconsciously, we choose not to answer. Make no mistake about it. God is calling you. More than any millennial has ever texted another person in his or her life, God is texting you. God is calling you this very second. And please remember, when I say God is calling you, I'm not talking about some other being up in the heavens. I'm not talking about somebody whose first name is God, like if it could have also been Bob. I'm talking about love. As our scripture has so insightfully, finally described for us, that this fundamental mystery of the universe that we name God is really love. God is love, the scriptures tell us. And as we discovered in Jesus, this is self-emptying, self-giving love. So in other words, what I'm trying to say is that love is calling you. Self-emptying, self-giving love is calling you in the day and in the night. God is trying desperately to be in contact with you. So the question becomes, then, what is God asking of you? What is love asking of you? And I think the answer is going to come in terms of vocation, a whole way of life. But it's also going to come in terms of the day in, day out, day and night, every minute response to this call from love itself. As you who are students and young or even older adults know, sometimes it'll be to a whole new way of life. Sometimes it will be to one of the great vocations of life. For some of you, the most loving thing to do in response to this call from love itself would be seriously to live your life as a dedicated single woman or man. Committed, constantly committed to friendship and to service. It is a glorious vocation if it is done with love. But you will have a constant temptation in your single life. And Paul is so clear in the second reading that there's always something pulling us away from love. There's always something in our skin that pulls us away from the loving response. And your constant temptation will be in your single life to live for yourself too much, to worry about yourself too much, and make life about your money and your time and your energy, and protecting it instead of giving yourself away freely. And when that temptation comes, and it will, that's when love's going to call. Right then. Right there. For some of us, the most loving thing will be for you to live in a partnered life all your life. Like Troy and Emma, who brought their baby for our baptism today. Where romance will yield a life spent in committed love to this one person first, and to the kids, if they should come. If that's your call, if that's the way you can live most loving in this world, because that's the criterion, be aware you will have a constant temptation too, because we all do. And yours will be to settle. You will be constantly tempted in your marriages to settle for the lowest bar, to avoid conflict, to make sure you get all your other needs met, to let your partner also settle, rather than have the tension of calling each other to greatness in love and in freedom. Because anything else but settling, the temptation will be that it will cost too much. Just simply cost too much, emotionally, if nothing else. And in those constant temptations along the way in your marriages, love will call. Self-emptying, self-giving love will call and invite you to live more deeply, to cast out into the deep water, even if you don't know what it'd be like to swim back. And it will call you to love more in this world than just him or her, or them, your own. For others, like Sister Linda or myself, the most loving way we could live our lives would be maybe perhaps as priests or religious, to dedicate our entire lives to live towards community, pointing in everything we can, from our bank account to our primary relationships, to who's in charge of our lives, to another, to whom Paul also reminds us in that second reading, to another to whom we belong ultimately beyond all the belongings of this world that will pass away. To a kingdom, a whole new order, a whole new way of living that has eternal significance. And hopefully, in that call, to become a living reminder of who that is to whom we belong. And to live at the threshold of that ultimate reality. Our constant temptation, and we too have that pull, just like single people and married people, pulled down to disintegration. Our constant temptation, ego. Our constant temptation to idolatry about an organization or an institution that is not God, but only is meant to point to God, and make the institution more important than relationships, and to sell out along the way. Love will call us to, right then, again and again and again. In each of those great vocations, my friends, there will be a cost, a huge price to pay, because every vocation, single, married, religious, every vocation has its own cross. And we will do our best to avoid it, Paul says. And he's right on. Within these noble ways of life, of spending our life, and before they even begin for some of us, there will be that call. And it will be in every moment. And it will sound from beyond us and from the bone and marrow of our lives. And our only question, like Samuel's, is what is love? What is love? Self-emptying, self-giving love, calling me to. Not just how I commit my life, but in this now, and this now, and this now. What is love calling me to? Maybe asking it this way will help us figure it out a little easier, in a way that is, as we translate in the new preface, in a way that is right and just. Unlike so many of the calls that come through text or Facebook or messaging or email, the old way, just a phone call. This, my friends, is a call worth answering ASAP. Instead of just picking up and looking, though that would be a start. Let's pick up on it and answer. You know, I've never given a gift in 35 years to a baby I was about to baptize. But I have a gift for little Michael Christopher Wojtek today on the baptism. His very first cell phone. I'm not sure what the world is going to look like. By the way, this is about 8 generations ago now. I'm not sure about what the world will look like in 2030 when Michael Christopher goes off to college, or what technology will bring to him. But I do know this: God will be calling him. to a generous way of life in the image of the one who is generosity itself. And in moment to moment to moment love. I hope Michael picks up on it.